Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a January book wrap up for you guys. So this month I read a total of 3 books. So let's just get started. So the first book that I read in January was Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. This is a mystery novel set around 2 characters or 2 siblings named Byron and Benny, and their mother just died, and in her death she left them behind a black cake with it, which is like a traditional Caribbean dessert. It has like rum and port in it and like dried fruits. And alongside the black cake, she also left them behind a voice recording. And in the voice recording, their mother reveals to them their troubled past. Their mother is originally from a country in the Caribbean, which is like clearly modeled after Jamaica. So basically, listening to the recording is hard for the siblings because like they're dealing with the grief of losing their mother, and they have a strained relationship. So basically, Byron is upset that Benny abandoned their family and stopped speaking to them, and she abandoned her family because she wanted to experience a more carefree life, which opposes the kind of life that her parents and Byron wanted her to live. This book didn't really do it for me. I think that the premise is really cool, but I feel like some parts of the book were like redundant or dragged out, and on top of that, I just feel like there was just too much going on in the book. So for example, this book is written in different point of views. It was either in the point of view of Byron, Benny, the mom, or like one other character, but I don't want to say who it was because that basically spoils the book. But like in the chapters where it's in Byron's point of view, he would talk about racism he experiences as a black man in STEM, because I believe he's like a marine biologist or something. And it's like in his chapters, they're talking about like racism he experiences as a black man in the US, like getting stopped by police while he's driving, for example. I feel like adding these things in the book is fine, and it's almost expected because it's written by a black author, but I feel like it was almost in every single chapter surrounding Byron, and it was just like really dragged out. Like it didn't add anything to the story, and I just feel like Byron's character just like fell flat, because I feel like him being a black man in America working in STEM and getting stopped by the police or whatever, I feel like that was the basis of his whole character. Like they were the most boring chapters that I read, basically. In all honesty, I feel like this book should have focused more on the mother's story and like Caribbean culture, because it was more interesting. Because the mother in the voice recording, she talks about how she's half black and half Chinese, and I think this part of the book is interesting because it kind of discusses the race relations between Afro-Jamaicans and Chinese Jamaicans, because if you didn't know, in the mid-1800s, Chinese people migrated to some Caribbean countries, and they migrated over there to be like indentured servants. They worked as indentured servants, not only Jamaica, also like Trinidad, etc. But on top of that, this also discusses how many Caribbeans migrated to the UK post World War II, because I think at the time, I don't know if they still are, but at the time Jamaica was a part of the British Commonwealth, so they would recruit women, in particular Caribbean women, to come to the UK studying nursing. And so it kind of talks about like the discrimination they face. But yeah, I feel like that was the most interesting part of the story, and I feel like it should have focused more on that as opposed to like the mother's children, who were again boring and uninteresting. But overall, I still enjoyed this book, and I think it's a good book to read if you're looking to start reading books about the Caribbean, about the Afro-Caribbean diaspora, or just Caribbeans in general. There are better Caribbean books out there, but if you want to give this a try, give this a try. I don't know. So the next book that I read, I don't have it because I read it on the Libby app, but it's called What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This book is centered around a retired soldier who visits a childhood friend, Madeline, because Madeline is dying. By the way, the retired soldier, their name is Alex. So Alex goes to the countryside of Moravia, I think that's how you pronounce it. And when they get there, they find like weird looking mushrooms and fungi growths and like possessed animals and all this stuff. And while they're there, they notice that Madeline sleepwalks and acts strangely while she's sleepwalking. Like she just like talks in a strange voice, and basically the point of the book is like Alex trying to figure out what's going on with Madeline and what's going on with the local wildlife or local biodiversity, because they're both exhibiting like similar symptoms. But This book was okay. I think the best part about this book was like how atmospheric it was. Like I felt like I was really there. And I think the next most interesting thing about the book was like the representation, because I believe Alex's character was either non-binary or trans female to male, because Alex in the book explains how in their language, which is Gaelic, they use ka/can, ka/kan, instead of she/her, which I'm pretty sure just translate to they/them. Or the Galatian soldiers, I think they use ka/can. I don't remember, but anyways, the point is that this book was okay. I think it's a part of a series. Will I check out the other books? Maybe if I'm bored, but I don't know. We'll see. So yeah. Okay, so the last book that I read in January is Mother Thing by Ainsley Hogarth. I really love this cover. It's really pretty. So I basically picked up this book because I thought that the cover was absolutely gorgeous, as you just saw. And on top of that, it also had really good reviews. But so like I figured it'd be good, but this book was a major letdown. This is probably the worst book that I read this month. So basically this book is about a woman named Abby whose husband's mother just died. Husband's name is Ralph. The death of Ralph's mother leaves him like severely depressed. He doesn't eat, he barely talks, he barely showers, and he stops going to work. And on top of that, the mother haunts their house. So this book is technically a horror. So the whole book is Abby trying to help Ralph cope with his loss. And while she tries to make him feel better, she also reflects on her traumatic childhood and her relationship with her mother. So basically, her mother was very like neglectful, and she was very like male-centered. Like she was obsessed with men and put up this facade and like change her personality to like keep a man or whatever. But not only does she reflect on her relationship with her mother, she also reflects on her relationship that she had with Ralph's mother, whose name is Laura, by the way. So Laura was basically mean to Abby and didn't think that Abby was good enough for Ralph, because Laura raised Ralph by herself. So Laura and Ralph do have some sort of like unhealthy, sort of codependent, maybe even it's incestuous relationship. Now, I don't want to spoil this book, but this book does get progressively weirder and weirder and weirder. Like maybe by like the second half of the book, it just gets really weird. So on top of trying to make Ralph feel better, Abby also, she's basically the only one that's working, right? Because he's not working, he stopped going to work. So she works at a retirement home, and she develops this unhealthy attachment to one of the patients/residents there, and she kind of uses them as like a mother thing or a mother figure, and it just gets really weird. I really don't want to spoil it, but it's just weird, like really weird. Basically, I'm going to talk about Abby before I like give my final thoughts. But Abby is probably the most annoying protagonist that I've ever read in a book. In the book, she constantly criticizes her mother, and rightfully so, like, but she tries so hard to not end up like her, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna do this, this, and this so I don't end up like her, but she still ends up like her anyways. I feel like the only difference between Abby and her mother is like Abby's mother is like, she'll have like these brief obsessive relationships with men, whereas Abby is more focused on one man, and that man is obviously Ralph. So like she'll do everything in her power to make him feel better or whatever. So like there were a lot of instances in the book where she would make these attempts to like make him feel better, and like because obviously the relationship is strained with the death of his mother. Like they're not like going out on dates and being intimate with each other or whatever. So she's trying to like get the relationship back to what it was and help him cope with the loss of his mother. But there's like instances in the book where she's like attempting to do that, but it doesn't work well enough because he's literally severely depressed, and like she has it in her mind like, oh, I cooked dinner for you, so like you're healed now, and like you're gonna stop being depressed. And that was like literally so annoying, because it's like, girl, that's not how depression works. Okay, so in the book she does do a significant amount of cooking to try and like cheer Ralph up. But on top of that, another thing she does is she tries to get pregnant because she thinks that it'll like bring their family together, and ultimately it kind of does, because in the end of the book she does get pregnant. That is a spoiler, but I won't spoil anything else. But that's only a minor spoiler, because I feel like that was mentioned in like the beginning of the book or something, or even on the blurb. But anyways, this book is like kind of reminiscent of A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers. There's all like, they both have cannibalism and gore and murder. So like if you're not into that, if you don't want to read about that, please don't read this, like, please. But also the two protagonists are very similar. They're both really annoying. Actually, I think the protagonist in A Certain Hunger is more annoying. I know I said Abby is like the most annoying protagonist I've ever read, but actually that's a lie. The protagonist in A Certain Hunger is like ridiculous. But I feel like they both have like similarities. I don't know what it is, but they have like this some sort of complex that I can't identify because I'm not like some like experienced literary critic. But I feel like both of these books are about female rage, but I feel like it's an inaccurate and annoying portrayal of female rage, and I feel like it's more catered towards white women, maybe, because I just can't relate to it. And I feel like most of the people that said that this book was good, they were mostly white women, but it's like, is this a book for women or is this a book for what white women? Because a lot of these books that are like, oh, if you're a woman you should read this book, blah blah blah, and then you read it and it's like not intersectional or whatever. But yeah, basically, in short, I know I said all this stuff, but in short, this book is basically just like the unraveling of Abby's mind or her sanity, and I don't know, it just didn't give. I feel like it was not a very accurate portrayal of mental illness. Like, I'm not a neurologist, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist, but I feel like even if you don't know anything much about mental illness, you should still read a book where, like, okay, so like if you're reading a book and the point of the book is someone is having a mental breakdown, I feel like while you're reading the book, even if you don't know anything about mental illness, you should still end up learning about mental illness while reading the book. Because it's like, even though you've never experienced it or you've never read about someone's mind breaking down, I feel like just by the words and like the prose or whatever you want to call it, you should like feel like chills or whatever while reading the book. But it didn't give me chills, and it didn't make me feel anything but anger. Like, when is this book going to end? That's all I felt. Like, that's the only thing that was on my mind while reading this book. So yeah, my final thoughts are, I did not like this book. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. So if you want to check this book out, check it out. I wouldn't personally, like, if you're gonna check it out, just get it from the library. I would not spend my hard-earned money on this if I were you, because it is not worth it. Unless you just want a pretty book on your shelf, then knock yourself out. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope this video was like coherent, because I've been trying to I've been re-recording this like literally for the past hour or so, because like, I don't know, it doesn't matter, but this is the last time I'm recording it, and I hope it's coherent. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, tell me if you've read these books and tell me what you thought about them, or tell me if you're interested in reading them, or put some recommendations in the comments down below for me. The next video I have coming for you guys is probably a February TBR and maybe a like January movie wrap up. So be on the lookout for that. I will see you guys later. Bye.